Hey everybody, welcome back to Soundcheck. This is Brent.
And this is Walter.
It is Sunday, December 11th. We just got out of Baltimore Soundstage. We saw the headliner of Loathe and the openers of Unity, Omerta, and Static Dress.
Our approach today, we were just come here just for Loathe. We were actually kind of like saving ourselves a little bit for the openers. I mean, we did sample a little bit of their material on the way here. Honestly, the crowd was such a mix. I was kind of baffled. It was a mixture of like young high schoolers and then like old heads like us, I guess. Like we're hitting our 30s and just like, dang, we're getting to that age where I'm starting to feel a little too old for this. But today's show was actually, surprisingly good. The crowd had a lot of energy for like every band, especially Unity, like UnityTX. Like they were a mixture of kind of like like hardcore and like rap and just kind of a bit of slam and beatdown. And honestly, I didn't think all of that genre mixture was gonna like align very well for them, but like they had a really great crowd. Like the pits were nonstop. I personally didn't get any into the pits today. I was just not really feeling the energy. Maybe just because I got to go to work tomorrow, whatever. But nonetheless, Unity really surprised me. They had a lot to say and energy.
Yeah, it was a very eclectic crowd. It was like a big variety, all shapes and sizes, all races and ages. It was really nice to see. Yeah, solid show all around. I, went into it not knowing any of the openers, and just everyone was really good and delivered. Talking about being older, I threw my back out like a week ago, and I just recovered. So I was on the sidelines like this whole show. Like I was, I wasn't going to do much of anything. Unity was really cool.
As the show barely started, and then some guy literally got knocked out within the pit, and I was just like, no way, is this just the standard? And then the pit vibe went down for a bit. I was like, oh, I don't think everyone wants to get into the pit for a quick minute, and then everyone was like, oh, okay, sorry, I just had to get that out there.
No, I'm glad you mentioned. I forgot about it. Yeah, no one even touched him. It was like as soon as Unity started playing, the moshes opened up, and I don't know if he was on drugs or what. He just like took two steps into the pit and just fell like a tree and like hit his head on the floor too, like completely out. It was kind of rough to see, and people just picked him up and carried him out. But Unity killed it. They mentioned they were from Dallas, Texas, kind of new metal, rap metal, hardcore.
Caveman.
Slammy, super high energy, really meshed well with the crowd, getting people involved. Moshes the entire time. I mean, for an opener, they absolutely brought the energy. They were super fun. Yeah, it was awesome. Really perfect blend of rap and metal. Perfect fusion of the two. Both were just presented in as good of a style as you could want.
Yeah, the crowd surfing was nonstop. We saw this old guy, I think crowd surf at least 7 times.
Yeah.
7 times, and all I can think to myself was like, wow, I hope when I'm old, like whatever his age is, like I want to have that energy where I'm just consistently going to shows, still following the music scene, and honestly just still having a blast. Like he is he's young at heart, so I'm super jealous of that. I don't know. Omerta came right after Unity, and I hate saying this, but they were kind of like a modern day. Well, I mean, Slipknot's still alive, but if Slipknot were to have started a few years ago, I think Omerta kind of captured that sound. You can tell they just injected mainlined Iowa into their veins, and I mean the roasts were awesome. Literally just young Slipknot. I was just really surprised, minus the whole the DJ scratching stuff and the whole, minus a lot of the members, but for the most part they were great, super young, high energy, and I was looking at their IG bio, and they were most hated band in the world, and I was
oh my god, edgy,
so edgy a little bit, but they own it, badass. I can't tell you any of the songs, to be honest, just because all these bands were new to me. Couldn't tell you what caught my attention, but I was just kind of just studying their whole production. Every band had great production, by the way. Every band. They definitely had some wild moments. I don't think anybody else like got super injured in the pit. The pit was just consistently going on. I mean, I can't really complain about that. I was just standing in the back, just watching, admiring, wishing I was in there a little bit, but I didn't really have the energy.
Yeah, everyone came through clear. Everyone had a very like punchy, clear sound. With Omerta, they kept mentioning, them and Unity kept mentioning they were buddies because Omerta mentioned they were from Houston, Texas. Nu metal, like you mentioned, really sounded like Slipknot. They had that like fast, frantic vocal delivery, just kind of like spitting stuff out.
Oh yeah, just like Corey Taylor.
I don't know how else to describe this, but like the drums kind of sound industrial, like almost like they're hitting like cans and stuff.
Yeah.
Slipknot really has that going on. Maybe like a little two-stepping at some moments, sudden tempo ramp ups all over the place, bouncy breakdowns. There was one song that they swapped vocalists. I think it was like maybe the bassist or something, like took on the lead vocals.
It was the other guitarist. It was the guitarist who did a lot of the clean vocals, and the vocalist went on guitar and I guess did also guitar and vocals at the same time, which was pretty cool, really neat. I'm glad, like, well, I'm glad. I'm happy to see like band members like be versatile in their craft. Like, I'm assuming they all contribute to the songwriting process one way or another, and that's really cool.
Yeah, I always love seeing multi-instrumentalists and bands and band members like swapping roles throughout, and they had a fun energy with that. Every single member was like really, I wrote it down as aggressive crowd work, because like a lot of the other bands, they're trying to hype up the audience. They were like looking people right in the eyes and be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, mosh, you dumb bitch.
Yeah,
like
literally.
They really aggressive, and it was like it kind of funny, kind of edgy.
Most hated band in the world.
Yeah. And then I feel like there are other bands that fit this description better, but something that came to my mind I wrote down is party hardcore. Like, they were hardcore, but like it was sort of like a party vibe. Just every member was just trying to get you amped up, and it was just like a wild, fun time. Yeah, they were pretty good. Static Dress, English band, I imagine paired with Loathe.
They were pretty good, actually. Like, I think you told me that you have overheard somebody saying that they're kind of like under oath. And once that, I guess, sound was in my mind, I started to hear it a lot more. And then my friend Jason was with us. He was like, oh yeah, I love this. It just reminds me of like 2002 hard metalcore. And I immediately was like, yeah, this is 100% that era. But they pulled it off very well. I can't really say anything else other than the production value. Everything was clear. Shouts out to Dadari for protecting our ears. I love your earbuds. Thank you. Sponsor us. Please. We use them all the time. But no, like the sound engineer for every band was very, very good. The bass came out very well. I will say, like, after listening to, I forgot which was it. Yeah, it was Static Dress. When I was listening to their like album, I gotta say it was a little too bass forward for my personal taste. But I still thought like the overall live show was really good. Not critiquing, it was just a little too bassy on the album, but could be my speakers as well. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, to me, so an overarching theme of this whole show is, with every band, a pretty heavy influence of Deftones. Oh, yeah. And with Static Dress, I definitely heard like some classic Deftones, especially with like the vocals. He was kind of like shrieking, and then occasionally would just like speak normally. But yeah, again, a common trend. They had high energy. Crowd was very receptive to them. They were the band I gelled with the least. I don't want to say I disliked them. I don't really have an objective reason why. Like, they had all the pieces there. They were heavy. Yeah. They had, catchy choruses. They had the energy. I don't know. Maybe at that point I was just like really just dying for Loathe. But yeah, I don't have too much else to say with them. They were good. And then the headliner of the night was Loathe.
It's a beautiful, like, honestly, that album is beautiful, like, from start to finish. The way they execute it, like, especially in the projector screen, they had like the lyrics showing up as they were, actually singing the lyrics. It really was trippy. No, it just was a memorable night. Like, everyone was super tight, in sync. The drummer fucking killed it. I think he did some stuff that actually wasn't on the album, and I gelled with it a lot. They mentioned during COVID that they wanted to tour that album a lot more, but they couldn't because of the whole pandemic situation. But I'm glad that I was able to see that album in its entirety today, and I think they did a great job. I mean, they're putting a lot of hard work from across the pond. I'm from Liverpool, like, to see that, like, their hard work being paid off. And I was actually sad that I didn't get to buy any merch. They sold out. All they had was the hats. And I was like, I don't want a hat,
Yeah, it's the end of the tour. We're in the last week of it, so a bunch of their stuff was sold out. They just had like a hat or something for merch. So yeah, Loathe, like Static Dress, Loathe,
Heavy.
English from the UK, metal.
Odd, isn't it? A bit odd, isn't it?
Yeah, it was funny hearing their accents.
Nice.
Yeah, they're metalcore with some elements of nu metal and shoegaze. Definitely wear their Deftones influence heavily on their sleeve, but I think they have just enough. They do what they do well enough to kind of get away with it. And so for this tour, this show, they played their album I Let It In, and it took everything. It's in its entirety. And then for an encore, they came out and played the song White Hot, which was from a EP split from 2018. I had to look it up. I wasn't familiar with it. I only got into Loathe fairly recently, like a couple months ago or so. I had some night where I was like, I want to listen to Deftones, but not actually Deftones material. And then Loathe just clicked.
Yeah, like, the way I kind of described Loathe is just like if Deftones were to have formed today. Like, all right, like, they had those heavy Deftone influences, like that kind of like, I don't know, I forget exactly what filter they used during some like vocal parts. I want to say it's like maybe like a high pass filter to kind of get like that, I guess, or maybe a high shelf, either or. Like, they have a very specific sound that kind of like caters to the Deftone sound, at least vocally, and it just sounds very 90s and memorable. You're sick.
It's a really solid album, and I was excited to hear it live and hear how it was going to translate live, and it sounded just as good.
Yeah.
And, the sound quality was fantastic. The songs I was most excited to hear were Screaming and Gourd, which are both kind of like somewhere in the middle endish of the album. Screaming is super catchy. I'd sing that like in the shower.
Oh, yeah.
And then Gourd is monstrously heavy. I couldn't wait to hear it live. The bass is so low. I was trying to, on the drive here, I was trying to think of a way to describe it. And this is so dumb, but like what popped in my head was, it sounds like it's trying to communicate with whales. It's so unbelievably low.
I kind of took a quick glance of the gear that they use, and I think the bassist uses a P bass, which is notoriously for having that low end growl. And I think that's what you're talking about. Like, it's just super punchy. It's an iconic sound. Like, a jazz bass would kind of have more of like a spanky and twang behind it, but like the P bass, just like where the pickups are positioned, it captures more of that like low end rumble that you kind of hear it a lot with Straight from the Path. Actually, the bassist uses the same model, I believe, and I think what helps captures that low end, at least make the guitar sound even lower than what they are. The guitarist, I forgot his name. They use a baritone. I believe it's a 30-inch scale Gretsch. I could be wrong. Kind of like a Les Paul style guitar. And they tune super low, like bass territory. And then they have like the actual bass, I believe, tuned normally. So it kind of adds to more of that low-end rumble that Loathe is kind of known for. And that's kind of like what separates them tonally from a lot of like the 90s style like Deftonesy bands, like with Deftones, Stephen Carpenter eventually switched to 8 strings to achieve that low end rumble because he heard Meshuggah. He was like, I gotta have that. He needed it. They achieved a similar sound just by getting a longer scale guitar and tuning the guitar even lower, so they use thicker strings to achieve that, or else it would be like wah, 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 floppy thin strings. You don't want floppy. I think they switched a lot of guitars today too. Like I think in Screaming he switched to like a Strat style guitar, which was pretty tight. I didn't think it was gonna be that sound, because I'm used to hearing them playing P90s, which is kind of like in between pickup sound. But hearing I guess a Strat kind of surprised me for that song, which just wasn't expecting it. That's it. Nothing bad.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. You nailed it. Like the rumble, it's like kind of cavernous. It's like so deep. Yeah, I love that. And I love the breakdowns at the end of Aggressive Evolution and Gourd, where you hear like the fingers like swipe against the strings.
Oh, yeah. That's a guilty pleasure of mine. I love hearing that sound.
Yeah, last note I had was I like the ambient songs and the portions in the album. They don't just feel tacked on. They're like legitimately good. You know, it's nice to have dynamics in albums, have the ebb and flow. Like if it's just pummeling constantly, eventually it kind of gets old. You know, when you pull back, have like, you know, some shoegazy stuff and then go into Gourd. I mean, it's just like even more gargantuan then.
Like the way they constructed that album, it's like ambient, heavy song, like a kind of a ballady song, like 451 Days. That song is memorable. I think that's like even radio worthy. Like, it's just such a beautiful song. And then eventually goes into another like ambient interlude to like New Faces in the Dark. And that song just fucks. Oh, especially with that beginning strum with the chorus behind it. You just know you're about to hit chaos once they hit like the low E. Bow, bow. And then I guess it goes into another ambient. You just check out the album. just fucking check it out.
Yeah, they know like just when to breathe and to pull away in the album. And just like it, both on the track listing and within the song themselves, they just have really smooth transitions between the lighter and the heaviness of it. Yeah, I think that's all my thoughts. I guess I'm good for a score.
Yeah, I'm good for
if you are.
I'm good for a score too.
I think I'm between an 8 or an 8.5 out of 10 for this one.
My score is like an 8.3, just because I was impressed with all the bands, but like I guess I just wasn't familiar with their material, which, you know, doesn't really matter. I generally thought every band did great. But I think Loathe, you know, finally got to being able to play this album. Fantastic. 8.3.
I think I'll commit to 8.5. If I hadn't thrown my back out previously, I definitely would have moshed tonight. Even to the bands I wasn't familiar with, which is pretty impressive. It's really like that's something I usually reserve for if I really know and love some material. But Unity was just like a ton of fun. Omerta, I would have gone in there for a song or two. Yeah, every band sounded great energy. The crowd was there for it. Yeah, it was a great show. Yeah. Solid all around.
Mm-hmm. Oh, especially on a Sunday night. Like, they were tight. Like, every band, like, set up, broke down immediately. Yeah. And then, like, not even, like, a minute went by when they ended their song. And they were like, all right, cool, let's go with this last song. I was like, cool. And it's not even 11 o'clock. I think they know that. We're about to go to work tomorrow.
Oh, I know. Really impressive setup and teardown times. Mm-hmm. I mean, like in the span of like 20 minutes, the next band was ready to go. I'm acclimated to it taking like 40 minutes for setup and testing. Yeah, it was like 10:45. We were in the car ready to set up for this episode. I mean, unreal. These shows are usually we get out like 11:30 or something.
Oh, yeah. Thank you again for tuning in to us. Please like and subscribe to our channel if you hear this, and definitely a share would go a long way for us. this is something that we definitely do like out of passion, just because we love music and we love our show, like going to shows. It's kind of our outlet. It's, you know, something that kind of drives us to keep doing stuff like this. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Walter.
Thanks so much for listening. This is Brent. Until next time.
See ya.
See ya.